This remarkable photograph of a Russian cloud, a cloud that was remarkable in so many significant ways. It looked like a spaceship hovering over Moscow in Independence Day style, where it was almost like it was producing its own cloud cover. It was a ring. It was a photograph published in the UK at the Sun. We had it here linked up at coasttocoastam.com, and you can go see it right now. This astonishing ring was spotted all over the city of Moscow, captured on video by stunned locals. The video was right there on the Sun's webpage, and quoted, of course, in that is our friend and correspondent in the UK, Nick Pope, who joins us here live on Coast to Coast AM. Good evening again, Nick.
Good evening.
Now, as it was first reported, it was breathless excitement, and it was fascinating, and what is it? And everybody was kind of shooting from the hip. You've had a chance to investigate this image further, this video, as well as the circumstances surrounding it, and now people are sort of decompressing and processing it. What is it that was this ringed cloud floating over Moscow? Any idea?
We still don't know with any degree of certainty. I think it probably is some sort of meteorological phenomena, some very rare and unusual effect involving the sun, a cloud, a perfectly or near perfectly symmetrical pattern. I mean, other theories include that it was a UFO of some sort, that it is some sort of sign of the end of the world. These are the theories doing the rounds on the internet.
Sure.
One theory is that it is a meteorological phenomenon, but it perhaps has to do with some sort of weather modification technology. There's been a lot of talk recently about weather weapons, testing of weather modification technologies, that sort of thing. I happen to think it is probably just one of those 1,000,000-to-1 effects that you sometimes, I guess, do get, where something in the sky that is just cloud and sunshine produces some fantastic effect like this.
Okay, but then and as a former analyst, a UFO analyst for the Ministry of Defense, then if it's an issue of science, then what is the name of that meteorological effect? If this has existed before, then it must have a name, a category. It must be, replicable in some form somewhere. There must be other photographs of this same effect because, as you say, it's a perfect circle, and it doesn't seem like it's something that would stick around. It didn't. I mean, as a cloud formation that would kind of pop up and then dissipate, that's one thing. But for it to just sit there like that, that would seem to give meteorologists plenty of chances to have studied it.
Well, you would think so. Now, I mean, atmospheric phenomena, there is a lot of controversy about this. You'll recall that a few years ago, the Ministry of Defense published a study called, Project Condign, which actually talked about atmospheric plasmas, and it talked about perhaps plasmas explaining some of the UFO phenomena. Now, this was very controversial. There was a lot of criticism of the report that atmospheric physicists weren't consulted, but that's possibly the sort of area that we should be looking at. Atmospheric plasmas,
Okay.
and there really isn't any consensus on this.
But atmospheric plasma, that's what we must be left with then, if to account for this perfectly circular cloud formation that hovered for a very long period of time.
It's a possibility, yes. I think it's the sort of area that we should be looking at. But as I say, it's a mystery, and there's no definitive answer on this.
Let me ask you, again, we're talking with Nick Pope, former UFO analyst for the Ministry of Defense in the UK. What if it weren't that, if it were something else, is it the kind of thing that the government of Russia would admit to?
It would find it difficult not to, given the video evidence and given the number of witnesses. But I think what you would find, and maybe this is exactly what's happening, what you would find is probably the government would do what most governments would do, certainly what the British government would do, downplay the subject. The British government famously uses sometimes very patronizing words to kill a UFO story. So if a journalist is speaking to the Ministry of Defense press office, the press office will use phrases like flying saucers, which they know is a deliberately out-of-date, somewhat quaint term. They will use the phrase little green men. And just subtly, they'll try and kill a story. That's probably what the Russians will do.
So in the meantime, though, there has been no definitive word on this mystery UFO halo over Moscow. Nobody yet, no meteorologist has come forward with, say, a half dozen other photographs of something just like it, or any other Air Force has come forward to say, yes, we fly above these all the time. This is what they look like from on top of them, right?
And absolutely, and it's very interesting to draw some parallels between this incident and two other things which have a bearing. The first is the Chicago O'Hare UFO sighting, and you'll recall there one of the very interesting phenomenon associated with it was this so-called cloud punch effect, and interestingly, the FAA, when they were quizzed about this, just kind of tried to downplay the whole thing, and they just said it was some weather phenomenon. So that's interesting. The other interesting thing, and again, you can look at this on YouTube, it's a massive story in the last week or so, when the Iranian film of the missiles, the new missiles was publicized, there was an effect that you can see something tear through the cloud there. Now, again, there's speculation on the net. This is some sort of prototype aircraft. It's some debris from the rocket. It's the shadow of the contrail. But again, one sees, parallels in
right.
the UFO phenomenon and these sort of meteorological phenomena.
Well, I just, I'm running late here, but I want to ask you one quick question. The last time you and I were on the air together on Coast to Coast, it was about Colin Briggs, right, who is a BBC morning news host, and there had been a quick UFO flash on the screen behind him while they were doing a live shot over the Thames, wasn't it? And then you could just see this.
It was actually the River Tyne, but yes,
okay.
I can recall that very
Thank
well,
you.
yes.
Right. So was that ever ultimately explained? This video, this appeared to be this quick craft that flew in and out of the frame at a speed that wouldn't be natural for a bird, and in a formation that didn't seem to be organic, at least to this planet. Did they ever come up with an explanation of that?
They didn't. A lot of people looked at that footage. They enhanced it. They certainly, we I think, have eliminated all the prosaic possibilities. It's still a mystery. Like this Moscow cloud, it's still a mystery.
And that means that there's still a good chance you'll be hearing back from us again and getting you on the air. And thank you so much, Nick Pope, for your time.
Thank you.